Hello everyone, welcome to my top 10 of 2023. It's been a great year for games. Actually, it's the new year already, but I'm doing my top 10 for 2023 now that 2023 is over. But in any case, my top 10 games of 2023, these are games that I've played more than 2 times, that I've tried to play both solo and with other people if they play solo, and I've just had a good time with these games. Of course, this is my top 10, not yours, so I'd love to hear your comments about what you think I missed or what would have been a better game, or, maybe it's a game I did play, but I only played it once or twice. Maybe even liked the game a lot and I debated about it. So I'd love to interact with you in the comments about that. But in any case, let's get it right down to it. Let's go through these games quickly. I'll tell you a little bit about each game. And if you haven't seen it before, I'll tell you a little bit about why I like it and what's in the game. So maybe it might appeal to you too. Right away, I'm going to start cheating a little bit on this list in that these are games that came out in 2023, but there's 2 of them. This is my number 10. This is tied because when it got down to it, although I had eliminated a bunch of other games, I couldn't leave either one of these off the list, even though they are both very similar in terms of how much I like them. They're not completely similar in how they play at all. This is an abstract game and this is an abstract game, and that's about the end of the similarities there. This plays 2 to 5 players and this one plays 2 players only. So this is Tiger and Dragon, a game from Oink. That is the first time that we have had this box size in the US, but it is a drafting game with tiles that's going to feel very familiar to those who like card drafting games. It's quick, it's easy to learn, and it has a very thin veneer of a theme on it where you are doing some kung fu fighting in a dojo. But overall, I like it. It's a neat little game with some neat little tiles. Had a bunch of fun playing it, taught it several times. I know it's not for everybody, but it is in my top 10. And coming in very close to that, so close that I couldn't really tell the difference in terms of my ranking between the 2, is General Orders. This is a 2-player abstract game with a double-sided board where you are trying to do some area control stuff via playing some cards. And when you do that right, it goes well. The one side is pretty simple and you can learn quickly. The other side with the planes takes a little bit more, but also a good game. I like both sides of it. I like playing this game. I've played it at conventions when I first got it, and then I've played it several times since then. A great pick. General Orders World War II by Osprey. Coming in at number 9 for me is Fit to Print, which is a real-time game where you are fitting your newspaper pieces in a cute little town's newspaper into your newspaper over a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a weekend. As you do that, you're going to make sure that you get the right types of articles and do enough advertising too. The game isn't quite as good at 2, although it works. I don't like it quite as well at solo either. I really like this when I'm playing in a group of 3 or more, or even trying the team variant. I tried that once. I really like that. It is a fun game, but because the solo and the 2-player isn't quite as good for me, it only made number 9, and that's Fit to Print from the Flat Out Games Group and AEG. Really like it. Fun theme, nice real-time strategy game. I didn't know if I would need another engine building type tableau game in my collection, but Forest Shuffle surprised me a lot. Forest Shuffle from Lookout Games in their green line, where they have less packaging and they use wax paper type wafers on it, and they are just doing a lot to reduce the stuff that's not plastic in the production of this. Is pretty cool. That part's pretty cool, but the game is actually a really solid game too. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than you take up a lot of table space, and that's probably my only negative about it, is that if someone's not playing super fast, that this can get really big, much bigger than this little box would suggest. But I like the artwork, I like the theme, I like that you're taking your forests and you're growing those forests and getting some points based off of that, and then just lots and lots of different ways to get points. It's a lot of fun. I want to play it some more. Good game though. Forest Shuffle from Lookout Games. Coming in at number 7 is a game that is currently sold out at the publisher and had a lot of hype at Gen Con, and before that I got to check this out way back in April in Reno. I liked it then. I liked what I was seeing with the co-op 2-player game. It's a quick game to learn. It's a lot of fun as you land a plane and do that. It is just a solid game with solid components, and it doesn't have anything negative against it. I just didn't like it as well as some of the other things on this list. And with that, we have Sky Team from Hachette and Scorpion Mask. Scorpion Mask being one of the studios underneath Hachette. So this game, I think, will be around for a little while. It has some nice two-player things going on for it in that it's short. It has nice components. It does the co-op thing differently than a lot of other co-op games for a two-player game. Number 7, Sky Team from Scorpion Mask. Coming in at number 6 is a game that really surprised me in some ways, and that is Dawn of Ulos. Dawn of Ulos is a game from Thunderworks Games. It is a game that is somewhat similar to Acquire. I think that's an apt and appropriate comparison. It has a fantasy setting. It has different people that are cards that you're trying to get, and then their power within that world changes over time. There's some neat minis that are totally unnecessary but fun in here, and it is in that same world as role player and cartographers and so forth. I like the way that they did the fantasy setting for this. It put a nice spin on that. I love economic games, and an economic game like this where the value of things can go up and down very quickly, it is nice. Not everybody's gonna like that, but it is all about what's up in here and what's going on between the players as they notice what other people pick up and what they're doing, because it is open information. When they take those things, it can be a little bit hard to keep track of, but I just had a ton of fun with this. Got it back around my birthday after putting it off for a little while, and then have played it several times, even though I need to refresh myself on the rules sometimes. But overall, really enjoy this game. Would play this at conventions again with other people. It's nice that it plays up to 5 players, and it plays in about an hour, maybe a little bit more if you have some solo people, but once people get the hang of it, the turns move very quickly. Dawn of Ulos from Thunderworks Games at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is Border Reavers, a game about the borderlands between England and Scotland, where people were going back and forth and stealing cattle and horses and all of that. So this is set in the 16th century. I like historical games. If you know me, this is actually really probably the only historical game on the list this year, but it is a GMT game. I really debated about what I had fun with several GMT games this year, but this is the one that surprisingly stood out. It might have been because I got it later in the year. I haven't played it yet at the highest player counts of 5 and 6. It does play all the way up to 6, and it's good solo too. So I've played it solo and at the lower player counts. I haven't played it at 5 or 6 yet, but you're playing cards and you're trying to manage your little areas with your people, and it's really not that complex of a game. So I'm looking forward to sharing it with bigger groups of people. The art probably has somewhat to be desired. That's probably why I rated it only a 5, but the map is great. The map is really cool if you're into historical games and want to do stuff where you are balancing your territories and what you've acquired with risk in terms of where you're going to go and do these raids. Then this will be a game that you'll probably enjoy. Really good game, Border Reavers from GMT Games. Coming in at number 4, a game that I really enjoyed a lot, have come back to and still enjoy later in the year. I had to come back to it even though I had played it several times earlier in the year. I taught this a few times. It's about 30 minutes or more per player once you know what you're doing, but it is a good game. It has a historical-ish theme in terms of Darwin and the beagle going out and finding species, but really it's a Euro game with some neat twists. I like the little wax seals in it. I do have the Kickstarter edition, and we waited a long time to finally receive this one, but after getting it in, it met every expectation. It was actually a lot better. Like, I had kind of worried that the game wouldn't match up with my tabletop simulator experience because I had played it on there and I enjoyed it on there. And sometimes games that take a lot to set up, I get disappointed once I'm set up with them because the gameplay isn't as smooth as I would want. There are some idiosyncratic things with this game, but overall, it's a really nice playing experience where you're solving different puzzles of how to do the things that you want to do, and you're going out and you're discovering species. Very thematic, very fun game. I liked a lot about it. It is my number 4 this year. The only reason it's number 4, this could have even been a number 1 on other years, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I think that this year was an excellent year for games. So number 4, Darwin's Journey, and that is from Thunder Griff Games. Coming in at number 3 is a series that I never thought I would see on my top 10. Not because I dislike them. They're games that I like, but I never got super into them. They definitely have their fans, and I think that's what prompted this. I actually originally met one of the designers for this on Discord back when things were shut down and we couldn't get out as much. And then one of the designers of this game is going to be more of a friend, and I appreciate that friendship. So maybe that's coloring this a little bit, but at the same time, I actually like this version better. The fact that it is co-op and not just a competitive game anymore. This is Unmatched Tales to Amaze, Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze. This has a new mode, a new way of playing that I really appreciate, because Unmatched gets a little bit samey, a little bit old to me. This was a new take on that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the co-op aspect. I enjoyed playing with my kids, and I look forward to playing with other people this year. It has some challenge to it, and it still integrates well with the other sets. So really cool to see Tales to Amaze at number 3 from Restoration Games. My last 2 games, I had a really, really hard time picking between the two. I kept going back and forth. I had played them again solo and thought about what did I want to do with them. What appealed to me so much about this second one was the components. But the gameplay just wasn't quite as smooth as I wanted sometimes. Sometimes there's just a tiny bit more randomness with the interactions there. I have played this enough now that I really enjoy it and I like how it goes, but it just didn't quite crack that number 1 spot for me. But the game is Arboria is a game from Alley Cat Games, who I like, and I have done several of their Kickstarters. This is a game, though, that plays 1 to 5 players, and it has it's in their advanced line, which is kind of their more complex, heavier games. But once you get to know the game, it actually isn't that complex. It's just finding out the little puzzles of things you want to do with it. It has beautiful pieces, a beautiful board setup. The whole thing just looks nice and bright, and the rainbow pieces are cool. I have gotten to play with some of the expansion. I haven't played with everything in there, but there's just a lot in here. And for those looking for a lot of game in a box, this I feel like has it. It can probably be a little bit more swingy than people want, though, and that's what kept it out of the number 1 spot for me, is that it just didn't have the complete smoothness that I wanted. But I really like this game. I like playing with the components, and I like solving the puzzles that I get to solve in the game. I like both the solo mode and playing with several people at the same time. This is really cool, and if you can find the Kickstarter one with the deluxe components, the wood bits, it's a little bit more fun, honestly, but it'll work just fine as the regular game with the cardboard game. I don't always call that out, but I like this one. This will be coming with me different places this year as I travel, because I like this game and I like to share it with people too. So Arboria from Alley Cat Games at number 2. My number 1 game was a big surprise to me as I looked at it. Not in terms of me liking it, not in terms of it being in my top 10, but it was my number 1 game. And I had originally back in like October thought that a different game from this company would definitely be in my top 10, but it got pushed out, not because it was bad, but because there were just so many good games. And that game was Three Ring Circus. I liked Three Ring Circus a lot, really enjoyed the game, but this game is even better. It's just excellent, with a major caveat, and that caveat is I don't like it as well at 4 players. And I'm not the only person to say that, but the game is The White Castle from the Llama Dice designers, who also did Red Cathedral, and published again by DeVere Games. But The White Castle is a game where you are making really tight decisions in terms of whether you're going to send your samurais out to the training grounds, or you're going to go to the gardens, or you're going to go to the castle, but finding that way to get up and make the castle score enough so that you have your basically your courtesans that are there that are visiting the daimyo, that they're going to score enough there. That whole thing, and then also using the seasons track, is a really cool puzzle, and I love playing this game. There hasn't been a time when I'm like, I don't like this. This is too much. Now, it is a lot of game for the size of the box. I like that. I like the pieces. The components are just fun. And it's not like it's the deluxe version, it's just the game itself. So again, with that major caveat that 4 isn't quite what I like, but that's okay. I can choose to play this game at 3, and I will play it again at 3. And there's not much bad I could say about this game. I think a little bit different than the people who wrote the rule book, but I experienced that with Devere's other titles too. So I've realized that that's probably more a me issue. But I like the artwork on the game. I like just the way the decisions play out, and that there's different ways to do those decisions. So White Castle, my #1 game for 2023 from Devere Games. Like I said, 2023 was a really good year for games. I liked a lot of games that came out this year. It seemed to be more than normal. So maybe next year I do need to make a bigger list, or maybe I'll finally get around to making my top 50 or top 100 list at some point. I kind of need to readjust my top 10 even. There are games that were excellent games that didn't make it onto my top 10 this year. There are games that I haven't played enough to put in my top 10. I've only played this a couple of times, and I just didn't feel like it could make the top 10 because of that. There are lots of really good games that came out in 2023 though. Let me know what your favorites were, what I missed, what you think maybe should have been on that list or didn't deserve to be on my top 10, but it's still my top 10. Happy gaming, and I'll catch you later.